family. Vicki Dillard here for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let everybody know that your sister with the curly braids is on. Thank you so much, family. I want you to get ready to watch this clip of some secret information that the mainstream media is certainly not telling the world, that Burkina Faso's current Minister of State, His Excellency Mr. Basolamo Bassi, of course, we know that Burkina Faso is headed up now by General Traore. I want you to listen to something very interesting that he exposes about France and Macron. Watch this.
Led by France, which just uses its lackeys in Africa, tried to nominate a prime minister in Burkina Faso, but in vain. Then they tried to impose various ministers and strategic posts within the government of my country, again in vain. And lastly, they negotiated the continuing relations so that Captain Ibrahim Traore would implement their will. This was their prerequisite for his being in power. But he refused this in the name of the higher interest of his people. And as a result, an avalanche of repressive measures, threats, and attempted coups d'etats was unleashed upon him. These are
Did you catch that, family? Somebody say, thank God for grassroots global Black media like this network. Mainstream media isn't telling us this kind of stuff. Their journalists aren't digging to find the truth of this. What do I mean? How many of you all remember that in Niger, for example, of course, France was kicked out of Mali successfully. France was kicked out of Burkina Faso. And because France keeps losing, France is just dug its heels in, refused to remove its ambassador, refused to get out of Niger, right? Now, of course, the former president of Niger was Mr. Bazoum, right? And so Macron told the world that they're only going to, in that particular instance especially, going to negotiate with the legitimate government, which is Bazoum, and not with the junta, right? So you would think that same mindset would be the case in all of the other countries that they were successfully kicked out of. Well, let me tell you a little secret. Perhaps the reason they kept digging their heels in, and the reason why they're accused of being involved in what some considers to be a suspicious coup in Gabon, so that they can keep the Bongo family in power, so that France can continue to be the bloodsuckers of the energy resources in the Sahel area. Perhaps the reason why he dug his heels in with Niger is because they were secretly trying to negotiate with Burkina Faso's junta government. What did Mr. Bazzi, the Minister of State and the Minister of Civil Service, reveal during the UN General Assembly? He said that France tried to nominate Burkina Faso's prime minister. And he said they were willing to recognize the government if they did that. That didn't work. So he said then they demanded that certain ministers be placed in certain posts in the government in Burkina Faso. That was rejected. And then he said, thirdly, they tried to impose their will. France, Macron tried to impose their will on General Ibrahim Traore. And so the general rejected that also. He said, so that's what caused the multiple deletion attempts of the general. If you've seen my past broadcasts, you know I've talked about how they tried to take him out on a couple of different occasions, unsuccessfully. He said that's when that started to happen, when Burkina Faso refused all of their stipulations and demands. Keep that in mind, that when it comes to Niger, France wants us to think that they're so upright and they're just not going to recognize so-called coup governments, junta governments. But y'all's dirty little secret was just revealed. That tells you everything that you need to know about how low down and dirty the oppressive class are. I've got to say, I was moved deeply by his entire speech. And we stand with him. We know it's not going to be easy. But don't forget, there's a sacred text that says to resist the devil and he will flee. That principle should be utilized in this case. We're in our finest hour. In my spiritual school, not religious school, my spiritual school at clubvicki.com, I teach principles of power so that we're able to rule the new world. How many of you all know that the unseen is what makes up the seen? In other words, everything you see came from everything you can't see. Our scientists and quantum physicists prove that today. But our ancient mystics and our ancient ancestors and our ancient philosophers already knew that. What am I saying? I'm saying that if you spend more time developing the spiritual life, you'll have greater manifestations in the natural life, because everything you see in the natural came from everything you can't see, the spiritual. Join clubvicki.com today. That's clubvicki.com today. I can't wait to see you again.